can see, this is an example of the kind of structure that I'm referring to.
Well, isn't this just fantastic?
Vaush, a YouTuber who I'd known for a long time as one of the BreadTuber crowd, has recently got himself into a bit of hot water for what you saw right at the start there, a censored folder on his desktop of content that has divided the internet. And I say divided the internet because some people are defending Vaush for having these images, others are saying no, you should be arrested. Vaush as a YouTuber is a very polarizing character. I make it a point not to get too involved with people like Vaush because I know there are many within my audience that will like the content that Vaush produces. I'm not one of those people, but I'm not a fan because I don't watch much content. And to be honest, at times, Vaush comes across as a bit of a lolcow. The subject matter of the day is going to be somewhat amusing and also a bit convoluted, because there are those who take this from a political perspective, others saying you should fall in line, then there's Tipster. Ethan Klein inserts himself and has a very firm position which I, oddly enough, am on the side of. That might not be what people want to hear. Maybe you want me to say, I support Vaush. I don't. I'm going to try and go through tweets and videos in order, if possible, so you can have a semi-accurate timeline as things unfolded, which means that some of these arcs are going to veer, wibbly-wobbliness, get back on track and wibble-wobble again. And Tipster, because Tipster is becoming quite, well, amusing really. On the folder that was censored at the start were images taken from a genre called lolly. There's also a horse involved in this lolly. Although Vaush did clarify in a video what was in those folders, and I think it best to come straight from the horse's mouth.
Anyway, one of the two images just flatly didn't look like lolly. I don't give a like cope, diamond, I just don't care. Like disingenuous, you know? The other one is like a threesome with two chicks and a guy, and in retrospect, looking at it, knowing now that that artist is a lolicon, yeah, I can see it. When I looked at it, I think the vibe that I got was like short stack, thick kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the way like goblins get drawn. And you'll have to entertain me for a moment on this presumed shared knowledge of how goblins get drawn. And
while I fully understand what Rule 34 is, I can promise you at my ripe young age of 38, I did not know there was that. I have learnt something today, Vaush. The red gobbo should never ride again, and the goblin should always be under the thumb of the orcs, for their own safety and so that you could stop cracking one off to them. Now, Tipster, upon seeing this, had tweeted, "Damn it, Vaush, none of this would have happened if you would just watch adult content on your phone like a normal person, watch on your phone and never save, ever, lol." I can't be the only person that thinks this, but do you have something you'd like to share with the class, Tipster? Your search history, perhaps?
But now, knowing that the artist is a lolicon, which I have been roundly reminded of, obviously knowing that it was intended to be a lolly drawing. So, like, that's how it is, right? It's a drawing, you get it without context. I know that when I saved them because both the drawings have, like, a meaty in it, and I'm a huge size queen. So, like, you look at it in retrospect, and it's like, okay, well, now with the broader context, I can understand how it comes off that way.
As a firm believer in context being fundamentally vitally important to all discourse and understanding one's motivations, I thought it right to play that clip, regardless of my disdain towards the content you have saved on your computer. The problem with this, though, and it doesn't help Vaush, is that years ago, clips of Vaush were doing their rounds. These clips were of him arguing why ages of consent should be lowered or abolished. They were also out of context, but when one wants to frame an argument, this is what they will use, because you've now just opened the floodgate and you have been trending on Twitter, along with Lolly and other things like Keffels, who I'm blocked by and has been deleting all the tweets associated with this. Thank you very much, Keffels. We really appreciate your involvement. Yes, dickhead. Don't worry, I've got some stuff anyway. But you've got this problem where you've written a check, Vaush, and that check has come back with a receipt and an audit where you're now going to look even more shady, regardless of the context. And I have to say context multiple times because there are some creators who are defending you, like Tipster, because you've been taken out of context. Perhaps we should get to that. H3H3 had gone in on Vaush. Tipster decided to defend Vaush by saying genuinely disappointed seeing what H3H3 Productions did to Vaush earlier tonight. You'd think that after everything Hassan's community, as well as others in the past, have done to misrepresent Ethan, he wouldn't be so quick to do the same to others. Yet here we are. He even used the same out-of-context clips alt-writers have used to defame Vaush time and time again. Whatever this was intended to be, there is one thing for sure. This was not the move, and it was an extremely bad faith misrepresentation of Vaush. Ethan put this on an Instagram story by saying, "Cheers my horse, love ya, no," well, I can't say that word. To which Tipster replied by taking this story picture, on Twitter by saying, "I see Ethan was a big fan of my criticism, lol." Nick Diorio. Now that Tipster has gotten himself into an identical drama for the second year in a row, even after running away to a completely different community of content creators, can we now admit Orky, Boblax and myself were not to blame, just for the history books? A year ago, and Chris the Narc highlighted this as well in video form.
I need to know, lolly. 11 months ago. Oh, it's been a year! Oh my god! There's only 13 days. Oh, and he got into another lolicon drama. Are you fucking serious, man? Time is not a line. It's a fucking circle, man.
Tipster got into drama concerning Lolly. He has since aligned with the likes of Keffels, who has had some words on this and we'll get to soon. Tipster as a creator has suffered for it. But we're not done, there's more to this. You see, H3H3 isn't finished with Tipster yet. Because Tipster had said, "Yes, H3, you are losing your mind. You're being extremely bad faith and now everyone is calling you out for it. After all the genuinely good takes you've had over the past year, we expected better from you. After all the good takes, you had to do this. Condemn Lolly. We must draw the line somewhere. I see no errors here with what Ethan Klein says."
Also, what the f is jacketing? Why do you guys have such weird-ass expressions for anything, everything? And how often are you being accused of being a that you need a nickname for it? If the jacket fits, you must not acquit. Ethan, I don't know if you realize how optically bad what you just said looks. This looks f***ing terrible, Ethan.
Now the context for that is Tipster's going to bat for Keffels, because Keffels had been talking about this. Not a joke, that is legitimately what led to that bit. Because Keffels had said, "Hey Ethan, you didn't address anything I said. I'm not pro-Lolicon, and if I thought Vaush was, I wouldn't defend him. Can you please have a discussion about this instead of putting me on blast to your 2 million Instagram followers and that word jacketing me, this is gross." That led to the jacketing remark. Before that post though, Ethan had said, "I offered Vaush to come on the show to explain to me and my audience how what I said was out of context or dishonest. He declined, because Vaush wants him on his show instead." He also included this image of a jacket with Vaush on it. Not a real photo, obviously. But Tipster will go to defend Keffels because Keffels.
You are talking to a community of people, the LGBTQ community, which are very regularly accused of being and groomers constantly.
Just in case this didn't reach your walnut-sized brain, no one is calling the LGBTQ community the words you used in that clip. They're associating it with Vaush because they're dealing with the individual and holding them to the mark and a standard they believe should be upheld for all. The court of public opinion does not support Lolly, but for some peculiar reason you are making this into a larger issue, and Tipster, you moron, you may not have noticed, but Keffels inserted herself the moment that H3H3 clarted back. She played victim and said, "Please don't blast me to your millions of followers." She opened her mouth and wrote a check. The receipt came in an Instagram story post because she's afraid of him. Now you're saying this is a wider issue, but because of other discriminations, we have to let this slide? That's not how this works. For the sake of what Keffels said, the full context of that is in a Twitter versus Vaush video on Boblax's channel. I'm going to link it in the pinned comment down below. because Keffels has deleted all of her tweets about this. In another clip that was doing its rounds, Vaush tried to explain how it was funny to watch a horse that does anime girls. Tom, a non-bird, had tweeted, "Having to explain to anyone that you want to be a horse that F's little anime girls is so effing funny, what kind of childhood trauma leads to this?" Which was mocked to high heaven. Bo Blacks, as someone who helped run Vaush's alternate Twitter account for years, this news is devastating. The reference being the Throbbing Horsecock Twitter account. On Ethan Klein's subreddit, an individual posted this. I'm not going to bother reading it to you. You can read it if you like, but it doesn't actually tie in to the more recent videos doing their rounds of Vaush and the content he showed everyone on his computer. Bo Blacks. Did Vaush leaking his content just end the 7-year-long beef between Ethan and Keem? Included an image, Nick Diorio, "We forgive Ethan Klein." Keemstar, "Honestly, right now I do. He's a parent, he understands the sickos need to be stopped." Muta, some ordinary gamer, had tweeted or retweeted Keffels in a now deleted tweet on Keffels' part. "Seeing some of these leaks and the footage attached to them, even with context, is an incredibly bad look. I don't think Ethan is saying anything out of pocket. Some debate shouldn't be had, and some of the photos stored in that folder is downright vile." And I agree. What debate could there be to be had from a guy who will undoubtedly just shout you down or argue context, semantics, context, pedantic, semantics, context? It's quite circular, have you noticed? Reply from some black guy, "Yeah, I'm legit confused. Dude has lolly on his computer. How is he not a fan of it? Why else would he save it? Lol. Seems strange as hell that some people are running defense." Somebody defending Vaush said that the fact that Ethan's choosing to punch down like this and jacket people over nothing is inexcusable. His audience is huge. Tipster's honest critique caused him to call Tipster that name too. Those 100 likes really made you feel insecure, Ethan. You pathetic coward. Now this is the argument that because you have more followers, you are punching down. I couldn't disagree with this more. I don't care how big you are, how small you are. Your voice, your opinion, your perspective is vitally important and equal to everyone else's. The fact you have more followers is just an indicator you succeeded more at what you do than anyone else. Simple as that, really. This fallacy is pathetically embarrassing. Retweeted by Erin. It's genuinely hilarious that Vaush sycophants are starting to feel a teeny tiny portion of what Vaush has done to others for years. It's really fun watching his entire community burn to the ground. It's the second community this year I've seen take a bit of a pounding in the past 2 months, and I'm here for it. Now Vaush over Discord had announced, "I rescinded the invitation for Ethan to talk on my stream because after doing a completely unprompted, vile, dishonest character assassination for 2 hours, he was playing dumb in DMs, saying he was surprised. I thought he acted in bad faith and wanted me on his stream to provide my opinion. If he cared before about my opinion, wouldn't he have reached out before the character assassination? What? Then I checked his Insta story and while he was doing his innocent routines in DMs, he was calling everyone defending me a, that word, photoshopping pictures of me in a jacket that said that word. Yeah, absolutely dishonest snake, not an ounce of desire for truth in that guy. It's called a meme, but you know what? At this point, I don't think jokes work with you unless you're the one telling the joke. And there are plenty of people in Ethan Klein's subreddit, the H3H3 one anyway, rage quitting the subreddit and no longer financially, monetarily supporting H3H3 Productions because of his take on this. I'll be honest, if you're a patron of mine and you're into lolly, bye. I'm not going to miss you. I promise you I'm not. Now it's important to note in the H3 After Dark stream, everyone is raging, those that support Vaush here, that at no point were they, in the 10-second clip, they were clarifying the full context. Well, I bothered to watch it, and I can tell you that during 2 hours of it, they made it a point to ensure that it was clarified at every opportunity, because they wanted you to know they were not taking the piss. But by all means, punished Jake here continued to defend Vaush over this. Immediately after this, Vaush then fired up his livestream to claim bad faith because people on Discord told him what Ethan said. As Nick Diorio has pointed out, you've survived off dumb viewers, lack of context and plausible deniability for years. If you can't be asked to go and watch a livestream in good faith and notice people providing the context so you have the context, chances are your confirmation bias is blinding you. You need to grow up. All this over lolly. The fact you've even got it saved on your computer and then tried to justify it is hilarious. And then to act in bad faith while claiming everyone else is acting in bad faith is hilarious. Boblack says this best when he says, I think the whole idea of small streamers being orbiters of big political streamers by defending everything they say or do is super pathetic. You're adults. Form your own opinions instead of clinging on to someone else so much that you end up defending Vaush's lolly, that word with the horse emoji. He did offer a clarification underneath, saying that he accidentally worded it in a way that blamed the bigger streamer for having orbiters. Even I realise that's not what he intended. It's not the streamer's fault. Of course not. Richie Gonzalez had tweeted to anyone going lolicons are in shambles regarding Vaush. Here's a reminder that he was a staunch anti-lolicon who's clearly in denial. Included a video, I believe, of his. Keemstar had retweeted or tweeted out Vaush's rescinding of invitation to Ethan Klein by saying, Vaush is claiming H3H3 did character assassination. How? Did Vaush get caught with cartoon CP? Yes. Did Vaush admit he was caught? Yes. Did Vaush make multiple public statements about wanting horse cog? Yes. The only one doing character assassination is Vaush himself. To be honest, I thought this fell within the bracket of gaslighting, which, to be honest, makes sense. But I could be wrong. Maybe I misunderstand these words that get thrown around all the time. Now, there has been another suggestion in how Vaush should better handle this, because H3H3's popularity and success means there's an American thing we can do here. And I mean an American thing because when you say something nasty about another person that could be considered slanderous, libel, defamation, a lolly suit must take place. So somebody had legit posted, Vaush should legitimately sue Ethan for slander. As nice as the thought would be, I doubt there's enough of a case currently. We'll see how the next few weeks unfold though. No, there is the amount of slander and false accusations are more than enough for a solid lol suit. Ethan Klein saw this and posted it to his Instagram story by saying, I'm begging you, I'll crowdfund for you to sue me. Let's do it, it's my fave. The thing here is, he won't win. Vaush, that is. Vaush will not be Ethan Klein. Why? Because he had the images on his computer. He's been called out for a personal interest in something that Ethan Klein fundamentally does not personally think it should be acceptable. Are you really going to try for the meme with the jacket? Is that going to be your hook? You can't claim he acted in bad faith because the only source you'll have to cite is a 2-hour live stream where during it, he outright provides the context every single time they play the 10-second clip of you opening a folder with that imagery in it. And you, Vaush, try to then justify by explaining your reason for preferences and what you really thought it was, but understand now because what the artist really is means that, well, I guess in hindsight that's clearly not what I thought it was in Goblins. Bitch, please. Your stands are embarrassing. You're almost as cringy to me as those who blindly defend Taylor Swift. Can we stop this now? Like, fam, I've seen too much of Taylor Swift on my timeline of late. It's doing my head in. And the Vaush stuff is laughable because I don't think you get just how dumb you look and how dumb your fans look. But go figure, when one thinks they're always right, they can never understand how they could ever be wrong.